Hey everyone, we will get started in a couple more minutes. We're just waiting for more people to hop on. Uh, yeah, sit tight. Talk to you soon.
Hey everybody, I'm Mario Loria. Welcome to another virtual meetup of Orchestructure, the Ann Arbor group you all know and love. We have over 50 people that RSVP'd for this meetup. I'm so excited. We have Nicholas Klick coming for a third time. He got so bored during COVID that he did all this testing and playing, and he gave us this whole presentation. He's like, I have to talk about this. I need something to do. So welcome. For those that don't know, I'm Mario, and Jeff and Bob, as well as George, are here with me on the call. We are streaming this live on YouTube, so you can link this to anyone you'd like. It's not just for certain people. And just one minor announcement about kind of the rest of the year and the future. We've decided that after the meetup next month, so we have a meetup next month in October. It is actually the Envoy proxy meetup with speaker Lawrence from solo.io. So that should be very exciting. But after that meetup, happening in end of October, October 21st to be precise, we don't want to interfere with Halloween. After that, we're going to actually kind of go on a hiatus. And I think the big thing for us is to wait out a little bit until we can have everyone back together in person. That's our goal. That's what Orchestructure really is about. What's truly brought us together is the networking. I have everybody to thank for that, all of you. You've made this place pretty amazing. You've made this community just remarkable. We've come very far, but I think everyone is getting a little bit tired of evening video calls and things like that, especially when you just got done with a full day of video calls and meetings. So ourselves included. And so I think discussion and communication will continue in Slack. And I've had meetings with all sorts of you one-on-ones and virtual lunches, and I've heard from tons of you of ideas and things like that. So I really appreciate those. Keep them coming. Obviously, Jeff and Bob and George are still very active in the Kubernetes community, and we're still trying to see each other here and there when we can in Ann Arbor. But I think that the community will obviously live on, but we're going to take a little hiatus from doing these events, and that's good. Fall is busy. We just had KubeCon EU. We've got many other events. I know reInvent's coming, and it's going to be an exciting winter. So again, thank you to everyone who's tuning in right now. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Nicholas Klick from GitLab, and he's going to talk about the Kubernetes agents. Go, take it away, Nick.
All right. Well, Mario, I certainly appreciate that introduction, and I certainly appreciate everyone showing up to this talk after a long day of video calls, I'm sure. So tonight I'd like to talk briefly about the Kubernetes agent. This is a new project that we've been developing at GitLab. My name is Nicholas Klick. I'm an engineering manager at GitLab. First of all, I just wanted to say thanks everyone for coming out. Do a real brief, who am I? I manage the configure team at GitLab, and the configure team is primarily focused on working on Terraform and infrastructure as code features, as well as Kubernetes management. I wanted to market some of our Terraform stuff before I get into the Kubernetes stuff. So a couple of the things we've been doing with Terraform on my team is we've been working on the GitLab managed Terraform state. So if you happen to use Terraform and you also want to use GitLab, you can actually store your Terraform state within GitLab. We also have a Terraform plan widget, which will allow you to output your changes into the MR, into the actual MR, so you can see those changes there. As well, we recently took over the Terraform provider for GitLab. We took full ownership of it and are moving it forward to try to get it up to parity with the GitLab API. So that's what we're doing for infrastructure as code right now. But we also work in the Kubernetes management space. And there's been a couple of main areas that we've been focused on there. One has been managing clusters. So basically, we allow you to basically set up clusters on GKE and EKS and associate those clusters with your GitLab instance. We also let you to bring your own clusters and associate those with GitLab. And then we have a managed apps component where you can install kind of a suite of apps into your cluster. I'll just show a couple screens of that. So in the Kubernetes management, basically you can create a cluster. It's very UI based, what we're currently doing. And after you set it all up, you can see your clusters. Here's an example of where you can install and uninstall those managed apps into your cluster. And so a lot of what was built previously was it was sort of very UI based. It was kind of more focused on helping people get started with Kubernetes, kind of their first entry point into using it. But there are a number of issues with this. Essentially, so right now with this Kubernetes management features that we have, it requires your cluster to be open to the internet. So you need to allow GitLab to be able to talk through an ingress at some point directly to your cluster. And also there's a requirement for to basically give GitLab cluster admin rights. So kind of like a more privileged access to your cluster. And then finally, it kind of had exclusive support for these push-based changes. So you'd make a change and then push it out. It didn't really allow for this kind of like pull-based GitOps, which is becoming more popular. So due to many customer requests and just our own analysis, we decided to create a new product called the GitLab Kubernetes Agent. And essentially, our design goals with this were to solve the issues that are described above. So essentially allow it to work in a situation where you don't, like your cluster cannot be accessible through the public internet. Like maybe it's utilizing a NAT gateway, or basically like you don't want public requests coming in from your GitLab instance. And then also we've had a lot of requests for something pull-based GitOps related. So this solves that as well. We really wanted to work with community best practices. So instead of creating a project that was very UI based and kind of clicky in kind of its kind of like a UI related usage pattern, we decided to kind of listen to the community and utilize more of the patterns that we were seeing in other projects like Flux or Argo CD. And so it's also more security focused, and generally our goal for this, or kind of our the user archetype was more like enterprise production Kubernetes deployments. So this is a project. It's all encapsulated under the GitLab Agent project. And the GitLab Agent is really, it's kind of several things combined. And I kind of want to talk about what those pieces are. So for one, there's an in-cluster component, which actually runs inside your Kubernetes cluster. This is called Agent K. And then there's a server-side component called the Kubernetes Agent Server. And this is a Golang process which runs to the side of a GitLab instance. And then we've updated the GitLab Rails API to be able to communicate with the Kubernetes Agent Server. And essentially these three things combined, we've enabled bidirectional streaming, where we kind of like leave open this this event stream, so that we can have constant communication between your Rails, your CAS, and your Agent K, as well as other components in the GitLab architecture. And then the actual GitOps mechanism, we're using a project called GitOps Engine, and I'll go into that later, what that is. It's essentially a core component of Argo CD, or it's what they're aiming to be their GitOps engine within Argo CD. So this is the high-level architecture for the agent. You can see at the top, there's a Kubernetes cluster, and within that lives the Agent K. We're using gRPC bidirectional streaming to kind of allow the Agent K to communicate out to the Kubernetes Agent Server, which is running, again, to the side of the GitLab Rails app. And that Kubernetes Agent Server allows this kind of the brokering between requests from the GitLab Rails app and your cluster. So to kind of dive into each piece of it, Agent K, what it'll do, it'll connect, when it's installed, it'll immediately connect to a CAS instance, which you define when you install it. You define where your CAS is located. And then it just waits. It just sits and waits for requests to process. And it's kind of actively sending information about things that are happening inside the cluster. The Kubernetes Agent Server, what it does is it handles the authentication when Agent K is kind of initially, or when it's initializing, and then whenever it makes a request, it's handling the authentication to the Rails app. It also fetches the agent's configuration from each corresponding Git repository, because a single CAS instance is able to manage many different Git repositories, and we'll kind of go into the structure of how you set up these kind of GitOps, the kind of configuration that you need in order to enable this GitOps mechanism. And then as well, it matches the incoming requests from GitLab to existing connections. So they're not like, we're not having to constantly open new connections. And then it's also polling these manifest repositories. And we'll get into what the manifest repositories are in a little bit. So it's kind of polling these manifest repositories, looking for changes, which will then execute the kind of GitOps engine. So how does the agent GitOps work? So essentially, you know, again, this is kind of similar to what I showed before. Agent K, it's going to fetch configuration and the manifests from Kubernetes agent server. The Kubernetes agent server is kind of constantly polling for changes to those GitOps repositories. So those GitOps repositories are registered with the Kubernetes agent server, so it knows which ones to look at. And so as it's looking for the changes in the manifest YAML file, and when changes happen, it automatically it will automatically make those changes into the cluster. This is more of a kind of the workflow, so you can kind of get a sense of like as a developer, you push code changes to the application code repository, which will automatically update your manifest file. Now, this is a little so I mean, basically, yeah, I don't know if you can see my, oops. So basically what's happening here is you're pushing code changes. Those code changes will need to update your manifest file. That file, again, is being kind of like, it's being watched over. Whenever it changes, those changes are pulled in by the Kubernetes agent, and those are applied. So we are leveraging the GitOps engine under the hood. Again, this is a project that's owned by Argo CD, or the people behind Argo CD. And essentially what they're planning with this is that it will become the backbone to enable GitOps within Argo. And the plan originally was for it also to be the backbone behind Flux. And that was their original agreement. I think Flux has since changed their plans, but we also have an option to kind of go with what they've changed or switched to as well. I think it's called the GitOps toolkit, or the ops toolkit, something like that. Yeah, and like I can talk about that in a little bit. So anyway, we're using the GitOps engine. Essentially, we have gotten in early with this, and the reason that we went with this rather than straight up Argo CD or Flux is that we felt like this more closely matched the kind of level of integration that we were looking for. Flux and Argo CD are kind of much higher on the kind of implementation layer, like they have, they might have a UI, or they might be more feature complete. And we were looking for something a little bit more at a lower level, where we could get the functionality of GitOps, but also build our own tooling on top of it. So we've actually been heavily involved in working with the GitOps engine in terms of bug fixes or contributing to the roadmap. And so we're very excited about working, working with them and working with the community to make that a really valuable project. So I've kind of gone over the architecture of what we've done and how it works, and I kind of wanted to go through how to set up how this is set up. So basically there's 6 different steps to get it set up. You need to first install the Kubernetes agent server, and then you need to create a project or use an existing project and add a configuration repository to it. And we can go into how that is structured in a little bit. And then you create an agent record. And the agent record is just a database record within GitLab, and it's going to return like a secret token. And then you need to create that secret within your Kubernetes cluster, and then install agent K into that cluster. Oops. And finally, you have a manifest repository, which is the actual GitOps, like the repository that you want to be monitored and synced with. So currently, the only way to install the Kubernetes agent server is with the GitLab Helm chart. We're planning to get the agent into Omnibus, into GitLab Omnibus in this milestone. It should be in there. And then it should be on .com, on GitLab.com, either this milestone or the next milestone. So by the very latest, by the end of next month, we're expecting for this to be available on .com. So the command to install Kubernetes agent server is pretty straightforward. Just simple Helm install. And the one thing to note is this global CAS enabled true needs to be, so like you can't just install like the latest GitLab Helm chart and expect it to be turned on. You need to make sure to set this additional attribute. And then the next step is that you need to set up a configuration repo. And so basically all this is it's a repository that has a file with this type of directory structure. So, you know, like if you imagine a project that has a .gitlab directory, and then within that directory, you can have a set of agents. So under that, you know, agents directory, I could have a number of these like different agents named by whatever you want to. And then like each one of those will have a config YAML, and that config YAML is structured like this. So it's GitOps, manifest projects, and then this ID is actually the path, like the GitLab URL or the GitLab path to the project that you want the agent to be monitoring. And I'll go into that example here in a little bit. So this is an example of a config YAML. You can see I've got a project named Kubernetes-agent. It's got .gitlab agents agent1 config YAML, and this is the file. You can see we have configure examples GitOps project, and then I have this is a separate project. It's configure examples GitOps, and within that project, I have a manifest.yaml file. So you can see, you know, it's 2 different projects. It is possible. So I want to be clear that you don't have to use 2 different projects. It's just easier to explain initially to other people that you kind of have one project that's your Kubernetes agent, because conceivably you could have a number of these different config YAML files. And so it might make sense, depending on your use case, to have just a single repo where you manage all your kind of agent files, and then separate repos for your manifests. So, which is why we explain it like this. But it is possible to combine them into the same repo, and so you would have it pointed at itself, basically. So okay, so yeah, like after we have this this configuration repo again, which is this is your configuration repo. We need to remember this agent 1, okay, So I named it agent 1. And so what I need to do is now at present, because this is still very alpha in nature, we do not have a user interface in order to create we do not have a user interface to create an agent record. So we're asking people to either use the Rails console to do this, or we also have a GraphQL API, which I'm not showing the command for that. But if you go to the Kubernetes agent documentation, there's the GraphQL commands to run in order to create your agent and also receive your token, which you're going to need in the next step. And so we're rapidly working on a UI so that you don't have to kind of do this. But I wanted to explain it just so it was clear. So yeah, you run Rails console, you run these commands in order to create your agent record, create the token, and then that's going to that token you're going to utilize when you create your Kubernetes secret in this step. So you need to put that right here where it says your agent token. You're going to insert that token there, and that's going to create your Kubernetes secret. Then the next step is that you have to, like, now the secret's there, you have to kind of kickstart your agent K. And so this basically in our Kubernetes agent docs, we have an example of a resources YAML, but like you could use KPT or you could use whatever you wanted. Obviously, like you don't need to use, and this is not the full file. I want to be totally clear about that. If you go to the docs, this is just a part of the file, but I just wanted to highlight what you're doing here is it's going to pull down this image, this agent K image, and then it also points to this CAS address, which is the address of your CAS instance. And so if you were running this with a self-hosted GitLab, then you would obviously point it at the URL and the port where your CAS is running. So I just wanted to highlight that. This resources YAML is considerably larger. And again, like you could use like whatever you wanted to generate this type of configuration. And so after you've run that, you've got your GitLab agent is running, or your agent K is running in the cluster. And then your final step is that, so you've got your Kubernetes agent server running, you've got your agent K running, and then finally we need something for it to sync with. And so this is where we go back to that manifest repository. Essentially, I just need to add a manifest YAML file to that repository, and then every time that this file is updated, you'll see in the logs, you'll see those changes will be reflected. For example, here, config new commit, and it will point to the commit ID of the change. And I want to be clear that this manifest YAML can be auto-generated. So if you're using another like templating engine or something, that's totally fine. You don't have to be kind of manually making updates to this file by any means. So basically our roadmap, so like this is the basic functionality, is this this GitOps, the ability to do pull-based GitOps was kind of the basic thing that we're aiming for. Further down our roadmap, we're aiming to be able to detect and manage applications. So if you set up the GitLab agent, associate that with an existing cluster, we want to be able to detect all your applications that are running on there and pull in all the information about that into GitLab. We also want to be able to do real-time data streaming. to be able to see what's happening kind of in real time on the cluster. As well, we want to be able to preview, like basically be able to help you preview what changes you're going to make to a cluster. So, so like, like we'll be able to show you exactly what's there, and be able to do a live diff against what you're planning to do in a particular branch. Finally, if you have any sort of drift detection, or like we want to be able to offer to be able to kind of identify, oh, this particular cluster is kind of drifted from what you defined for some reason. Maybe there's some manual things going on. We want to be able to detect that. So currently, this is available in the GitLab Helm chart, and we expect that it will be it will definitely make it into Omnibus this month. And then it's going to be a bigger process to get it onto .com. And right now in Omnibus and the Helm chart is the premium feature. So it's not in core yet, but we're currently negotiating with the product team. This was a product team decision to put it in premium. And so we're trying to figure out how we can get it down into core to get more people get their hands on it. So a couple of frequently asked questions. Yeah, I just kind of talked about premium versus core. So it is currently premium, self-hosted. And then why the GitOps engine? I'm guessing some people might ask, why not just use Flux or Argo CD? And again, I said previously that it was just at a better level of abstraction that kind of met our needs better than what Flux or Argo offered. So that's it. I'd love to hear your questions. So.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Nick. That was pretty fast as well. Yeah, any questions, please type them in the Slack channel. If you have anything after the fact too, we can always forward them to Nick. Nick, why don't you enlighten us with your email and Twitter and how to best contact you?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like my email is nklick@gitlab.com, and I'll type that into the orchestration of the Slack channel. So it's just nklick@gitlab.com, and I would love to talk to anyone that has ideas, or maybe you currently use GitLab with Kubernetes, or if you use Terraform with GitLab, or you're just a Terraform user generally, maybe you're a Kubernetes user generally, and you want to have some input. My product manager would love to chat with you. He does interviews all the time, and we're always trying to learn what people like, what they're using, what their practices are, what their use cases are. I think, every time that we do these interviews, it really helps us with our roadmap and what we're planning to do. So.
Yeah, it looks like we have a question from Chuck here. What is Gitly?
Yeah, so like Gitly is a high level, it is a high level RPC service that allows that basically connects to our Git repositories. So it's like a centralized way to talk to all of our Git repositories using RPC.
Cool. And then it looks like Josh Lynn wrote, does the agent pull standard Kubernetes YAML? So if I have my manifest pointing to a repo, does it shore up anything I have there and deploy into the namespace automatically?
Yeah. So it should, yes. That is the, hold on. Does the agent pull standard Kubernetes? Yes, it does pull standard Kubernetes YAML. So basically, and just to be clear, so it's going to pull anything that you have associated with that manifest YAML. So if, let's say you're generating, like if you can generate that manifest YAML, or you can have a set of repositories with manifest YAML files, you can sync up all those at once to like a set of clusters. And we just literally, I was talking with people today about namespacing. So what we're going to do is the config YAML, we're going to allow you to define a namespace for each manifest files. So you'll be able to have separate, kind of segment everything. Does that help answer the question a little bit? Yeah, so it does. Right now, it only searches for a manifest YAML file. It does not descend into directories. Again, so I want to explain something. So at GitLab, we have this this concept of MVC, which is a minimal viable commit. So we build the most basic thing that will work, and we get that out as fast as possible. So focusing on kind of syncing one file was the easiest way to do that, but we definitely want to build this out into a more complete solution, which, like you said, would kind of you know, be able to kind of spider down through subdirectories and apply everything that changed and have it be a little bit more robust or mature.
Yeah, and then the other question too is the are y'all contributing upstream to the GitOps engine? How's that been going? Are there a lot of contributors there? You know, is it busy? Does it seem like it's moving forward? Are there some key milestones?
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's moving forward. We've been contributing a bit to it. Like they definitely have a roadmap. I am not the most up to speed on their exact roadmap. I do know that it is it definitely is moving forward. Let me just take a look at some of the things they're trying to do. So yeah, I mean, they, you know, they've been focused. It seems like they got the resource cache working. And, you know, I mean, like what we'd like eventually is the manifest generation, to have a little bit more kind of like an easier way to do that. As well, and separately from the GitOps engine, I want to talk those 6 steps that I talked about. Again, this is the kind of minimal viable way of us doing this. We want to try to help automate and make that a lot easier, so that it's not quite so, it feels a little bit like there's a lot of manual steps there. So we want to try to make that easier. Let's see. Any other questions?
I think that's it for now. Let's see, Chris Short is typing. Awesome, cool. I think you answered his question. Awesome. Anything else that you want to tell everybody?
Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, so we are hiring now. I will say that whenever COVID gets over, we'll be hiring a lot more. So definitely, you know, like keep that in mind. It's great culture at GitLab. We're 100% remote. We've been remote forever. You know, we've got people all over the world, about 1,400 folks. It's a really great place to work. What else is interesting? Yeah, like there's so many different parts to GitLab. Definitely check us out if you're not currently using GitLab. It's a great product. And yeah, I don't have anything more. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for taking time out of your evening to listen to me yammer on.
Yeah, for sure. We actually have a last minute question here from Chuck. Can you elaborate a little on the monitoring and detection of apps within clusters?
Yeah, so that's that is, we haven't built that yet. So yeah, future functionality. Yeah, so I mean, the idea would be that we would be able to inspect your cluster and kind of like, you know, annotate and figure out what's there, and then pull that into GitLab and provide some dashboards, provide some monitoring, metrics, things like that, but have it be very automatic, very simple to set up. Because right now the problem is that these managed apps is that it's very, it's just not set up for production use cases. It's very manual. You've got to expose a lot more. Basically, have to give us a lot more access to your cluster than you probably want in order for us to be able, for example, set up Prometheus or Elasticstack. So we want to be able to just kind of vacuum in what you already have there and make it easy for you.
Great, thank you. I think that definitely answered his question. That was good. Great presentation. Thank you again, Nick. If there was a whole crowd here of 40 people, they'd all be clapping very loudly, and then they would get up and get more pizza and Mountain Dew. Hopefully sooner than we think that will be a realistic possibility. I want to thank everyone that joined today. Some really great questions. Any further questions, Nick will answer in the channel. You can also email him at nklick@gitlab.com. He's very involved. So just ask for him, and one of us can help route you as well. Thanks to my team, Bob, Jeff, and George. I could not do this without them. They've helped make this happen. Planning these is now a little bit easier, but it's still work, and making decisions for the future takes a lot of discussion. We really love the meetup. We really love you guys, and we want to make sure that this continues. So we'll be seeing you in less than a month for the next presentation titled Envoy Proxy is Your Gateway to Service Mesh. That'll be on October 21st at 8 p.m. the same time. Again, it'll be a YouTube live stream. And for those that don't know, Solo.io is doing a lot in the service mesh, ingress, visibility, observability space around those patterns and what's starting to emerge. So for people that are deep into networking, deep into Kubernetes, really interested in the kind of the modern way that microservices are servicing both each other and external clients, things like that. Lawrence from Solo is a huge get. We're really excited to have him. And that is October 21st, that Wednesday. So we will remind everyone about that. I will link it here in the Slack channel as well. I really do miss all of you. If anybody has any pictures from previous meetups when we were in person, please feel free to share them. We're at least myself trying to collect as many as we can. I posted one of the snowy day. I think it was in February of this year that we had, which seems like so long ago now. So thanks for everyone who's joined me. We actually had some new people join the channel. One or two of which I'm working with or have worked with before. So great to see everybody. So with that, take care, and we will see everybody in 3 or 4 weeks. Thanks so much for logging on.